What is life? The balloons with the blood oath do more to provoke discussion on this topic than does the rest of this episode. In Adventure Time Season 1, Episode 15, Finn gets pranked by Jake, so he builds a never-ending pie-throwing robot, Nepter, in response to prank Jake back. However, Nepter's capability is not at its fullest, and in order to bring him to his full potential, they need the Ice King's magic. However, Ice King's magic installs some of Ice King's characteristics into Nepter's programming, but when it comes time to choose between Finn and the Ice King, Nepter chooses pranking over princesses. My opinion on this episode? I am approaching true neutral in regards to what I think. I'm like this ant. I certainly didn't dislike the episode, but I can't quite say I liked it either. So I'm really just stuck in the middle ground of not quite being able to enjoy the episode, but I would still definitely be willing to watch it. For an episode about creating a brand new being, an artificial intelligence, and a potentially new character, there wasn't really anything too provocative in this episode. Nepter comes to life a bit too conveniently for my liking as well. He has a sophisticated mind, but Finn just took a whole bunch of random junk and scrapped it together, and it basically makes it feel like Finn's intent is magical in and of itself. Which, that's never implied, and that's clearly not supposed to be the case, but just a random lightning struck turned all this junk into a consciousness, and it just feels a little bit too easy, a little bit too on the nose there. I can't quite get fully behind it. The rationale for tying an Ice King into the episode also feels rather odd. Lightning powers? Lightning? He's the Ice King. Ice. Yes, his zaps look a little bit like lightning, and he says zap, but every time he hits anything with that, it gets encased in ice, trapped in ice. But all of a sudden we are to believe that his ice powers have electricity components to it, so instead of freezing Nepter, he gives him a boost with electricity. That feels kind of just cobbled together. They just wanted Ice King's magic to be in there to do what it does, but I don't think it's really good rationale. And then the thing that makes the episode lose some extra points is that I feel most of the jokes really didn't quite deliver. A lot of them were amusing, I cracked a smile. Only about one or two jokes in the entire episode just made me laugh out loud. I certainly didn't dislike most of these jokes, and they weren't off-putting jokes, but they weren't quite up to snuff. They weren't quite good enough for me to really, really enjoy them. Things like Finn's fixation on the butter prank, Finn's pranking demon line, Finn's sawing while building Nepter, Ice King getting mad at the video game he's playing, Jake going, "I might wake up at any moment," Ice King's line, "Daddy's little fatty," toward Gunter, Ice King's Team Rocket impersonation where the Isopeed attacks him instead of Finn, Nepter putting poison in the pies. These are all examples of jokes that, yes, they're amusing, but only mildly so. In my personal opinion, this episode wasn't up to snuff with Adventure Time's typical humor. It didn't quite reach the level I expect of Adventure Time. Though Finn does have some faces I found quite comical and amusing, but this face right here? What is that? What is that face even? What is that expression? Why does Finn have it? What is this face, and who storyboarded it? One joke in this episode, though, goes against everything I've been saying and deserves the utmost praise. The balloons are a contender for the best joke in Season 1 of Adventure Time, and perhaps even beyond that.
Thanks, guys. Your blood oath is fulfilled.
Yay! To the Mesosphere! Finally, we can die!
How do balloons even make a blood oath to begin with? But the funny part here is the delivery itself. It is just so fantastic.
Finally, we can die!
Oh my god. I crack up laughing at this every time. Every single time I audibly laugh. And I think this joke stands in stark contrast to the rest of this episode's jokes. I absolutely love these balloons. And yes, they want to die, but part of me wishes that they are still alive and will make a return. I'm actually quite surprised Cartoon Network even allowed a suicide joke in the show. Fun little fact, the Mesosphere, it is the least understood layer of the Earth's atmosphere. This is because it is above the maximum altitude for aircraft and weather balloon flight, but it is below the minimum altitude for orbit. Therefore, studying it is really difficult, and we know quite little about it. Seeing as how it's shrouded in mystery, that makes it a pretty awesome place to die. But, considering what I just said about the Mesosphere being above the maximum altitude for aircraft and weather balloon flight, does that mean our suicidal, blood-oathing balloon friends won't even make it up to the Mesosphere? Oh no. Anyway, Neptr was created this episode, and despite Neptr being an artificial intelligence, there's no reason to ask questions along the lines of, does Neptr dream of electric sheep? Because those themes are not brought up in this episode at all. Despite the episode being about the construction of a sentient automaton, this episode wouldn't even qualify as science fiction, actually. Neptr does at least question the seemingly cruel nature of his creator.
Why, Creator? Does it please you to watch me struggle?
But he's fine with Finn's incompetence being the reason for his current state of existence. By the way, I especially love how the face Finn drew on the can doesn't even become Neptr's real face. There are some nature versus nurture things going on in this episode, however. Finn did not create Neptr for pranking. He created Neptr as a never-ending pie-throwing robot. His goal is to throw pies forever. Ice King instilled, or installed you could say, the desire to steal and marry princesses into Neptr. Thus throwing pies and stealing princesses are the things that are programmed into Neptr. Pranking is a thing Finn taught Neptr on their journey into the Ice King's basement.
Take note, Neptr. These guys are grade A pranksters.
Oh, you'll never get a prom date with all that tub on your face, you know. Oh, bless these melty ceilings.
Creator, you have shown me the joys of pranking. I cannot wait to throw pies infinitely at Jake's face.
So basically this episode displays that nurture can override some of the inherent tendencies in an organism or automaton. We can bypass our programming with the proper environmental stimuli. As the episode draws to a close, we see a very touching scene in the Ice King's imagination where his feelings for Neptr are on display, but I kinda do wish Ice King put these feelings into the open when he was trying to convince Neptr to go with him. Partially, this is because we do not see Neptr again until the first episode of Season 4. This is because Finn and Jake play a game of hide-and-seek with Neptr, and when they fail to find him, they leave him hiding for 15 months! What the fuck, Finn and Jake?